Kieran, over the last year or so, we've learned how everything is made up of energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So our bodies, the space we live in, the food we eat, everything, right?
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And depending how freely or how blocked that energy is, we also know it can either cause a lot of challenges in your life or it can make them infinitely better,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I've always asked myself what causes these blockages and how can something as simple as like relocating a couple of things in your home or your office help to ease things like happiness, prosperity, calm. Well, that's what we're talking about today with national best-selling author of the books I Move Your Stuff, Change Your Life, and Make a Shift, Change Your Life on this episode of The Skeptic Metaphysicians. My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
we both want to believe.
so we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something
Anything.
that will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the
The
Skeptic
Skeptic
Metaphysicians. Hi, everyone. I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
And we're the hosts of the Skeptic Metaphysicians, and we're really, really, really glad you're joining us today. But before we get started, I wanted to remind you that on our website, we do have a members-only section exclusively reserved for listeners who join the community. The membership is always free and comes with a weekly newsletter that provides insight and reminders about our current and past episodes, along with suggested topics and shows that are companions to the topics we discuss on the show. Now, the best part about joining our community, membership includes access to the members-only section of the site that provides added benefits of discounts for products and or services from some of our past guests. So head on over to skepticmetaphysician.com and join our community right now so you don't miss out. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's get on with the show. Our next guest has the amazing ability to take the ancient art of Feng Shui and not only make it accessible and relevant, but also fun. She spent decades learning how to create healthy, vibrant lives for her clients quickly and effortlessly translates that into easy to learn talks. Her lighthearted approach to speaking easily motivates her clients and audiences to rethink their day-to-day choices by implementing simple fixes for home, health, relationships, and more. Welcome to the show, Karen Rauch Carter.
I'm so excited to be here.
You hear a lot about Feng Shui, and there's a lot of misconceptions about what it is, what it's not, how it actually works. So let's just start from the very beginning. What is Feng Shui?
I describe it as a method of mindfully arranging your environment so that it consistently supports you in the life of your dreams and where you're going, as opposed to, because it's either supporting you or not, whether you are mindful about it or not. So instead of your life being willy-nilly or random, you can set your intentions by, well, I'm just going to say, you know how there's that saying where people say, dress for the job you want, not the job you have? Just think of me as the person who dresses your environment for the life you want, not the life you have. And you'll get the whole concept.
Can you come over to our house now, please?
We need your help badly.
Virtual consultation is special for the members.
And we'll talk all about that. But let's dive a little deeper into it. So it's easy to say, right, that you can relocate a couple things in your house and suddenly everyone's happy. How does that work?
Well, it's basically a quantum physics situation here, you know.
Ooh,
and
now you're talking my language.
I've spoken on this Stanford campus to all of the professors, and they were a little bit skittish because I guess there's kind of like a couple alpha dogs of the professors, you know, and I was like, ooh, tough crowd, right? And then the head of the physics department stood up and he said, hey, I just want everybody to know that according to, you know, whatever, like from a quantum physics point of view, everything she said so far completely checks out. And then the crowd kind of was with me. I was like, phew, tough crowd at Stanford. But if a quantum physicist from Stanford gives me the stamp of approval, I'm like, yay. So it's all about, you know, the laws of energy. Everything is energy. There's only one thing, energy. That's what we're dealing with here. So it's a way of organizing that in your three-dimensional spaces. Kind of like when you plant a plant and you want it to flower, you don't just, I don't know, work on the flower. You give it more better soil, sunlight, water, all the things, not touching the plant or the seed at all. You're just manipulating the environment so that it is more conducive to blooming. So I want you to grow, bloom, and thrive versus wilt, deplete, or die. And it's just all cells are doing that pattern from our microbiology on up. And there is a pattern to the universe. When light goes through a prism, the color of the rainbows are, it's a certain pattern. So there are patterns in three-dimensional space that I have had the luxury of spending several decades. Don't even want to say how many of these days. But if you go into people's homes, they tell you what their problems are, and you see their environment enough, you will know the patterns. It's kind of like, I think about a doctor and you go, oh, I got these rash on my arm. And they go, oh, it's measles. And you're like, oh my God, of all the choices, how do you know? And they're like, I've seen it a million times. I've luckily been all around the world looking at people's stuff, hearing their problems. And now I'm to the point where quite often I can tell people what they've got in their house just by them complaining or telling me what their problem is, because I am a pattern seer. So, or
See,
some people call me detective, home detective. I root out the issue of what makes you have that unwelcoming thing in life. Why do you have it? Your next door neighbor doesn't, et cetera. Why does this neighborhood have it? The next door neighborhood doesn't. I look at the micro patterns all the way up to the cosmos. So everything's patterns.
that makes perfect sense to me. The patterns, the energy, the flow. And well, see, here's the proof. This is why I get so cranky when the house is messy. It drives me nuts. Like my mood starts to shift. And after like 2 or 3 days, I mean, for lack of better terms, I'm super bitchy. And
Yeah.
it's just because stuff is everywhere and it drives me crazy. And,
I used
you
to
never
say
see happy
the
hoarders.
bitchometer was like a direct reflection of the state of the top of my desk. Like that literally would be, if I would leave it a mess and come in the next morning, it was
Yeah.
just, I'd start off on the wrong foot. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like if my car gets messy, and I'm not a neat freak, so it'll like slowly accumulate. But once it gets past that point, it's bad. It's see there. And
All
thank
right.
you.
All right. So wait, hang on a second, because before I met you, I was a mess. Right. My house was a mess. I was the epitome of the bachelor. Right. My apartment was not date ready. Let's just put it that way. But my life was great. I was making great money, great friends, a lot of fun. So it
But you
seems like
were
there's a
sad and
disconnect.
lonely. You were sad and lonely, and love was not in your life.
Well, I think that's a
You were
conversation.
making bad
I think
decisions.
that's a conversation we have to have outside of the microphone. But
I know all those patterns, just let you know. I'm on it. I'm on you.
so then, how can you explain that disconnect there?
Yeah, well, depending on the actual complaint. So if somebody says opportunity never finds me, or I've just been so unhealthy, I cannot recharge, I cannot gain energy. It depends on the exact complaint, tells me where the problem is in their house. And if they say opportunity never knocks on my door, I know it's from the trip from the street to the actual threshold of the front door. That would be where I would go look, as opposed to, some people that know a little bit about Feng Shui, like this is my book and it's got the little bagua area around. For those of you who know about the bagua, people just go right to that area. And I'm like, well, you're the type of person that forget the bagua, you don't even have enough energy coming in. So just like our body, we put air, food, water, that keeps our body sustained in our mouth. The architecturally intended front door is the mouth of chi, or the mouth that would invite the energy to come into for prosperity, for health and relationships. And you could have a great prosperity area, but a missing relationship area. Or when you're talking about making bad decisions, that's the front left part of the house. Something might be weak there. Maybe you had the bar. I'm picking like a bachelor. I picture the bar all set up over there on the front left or something like that. That would be like
Want to know?
clouding your decision making skills.
Right.
It gets quite comical. It's kind of like that, where somebody says, "Oh my God, my love life is in the toilet," and of course they're going to have a bathroom in the back right hand part of the house because of the way they describe it. We describe our lives in architectural terms, like I'm running into a brick wall with everything I do. My life is in the toilet. We say things that are architectural. Breaking the glass ceiling is about women getting ahead in the workplace, but a weird architectural term. And then we personify our house. Oh, my house needs a facelift. Like, so it's very intermeshed from a languaging point of view. So 10 minutes with me coming into your house as the feng shui consultant, I listen to the words you tell me. And then I go find it because you just gave me all the clues to what's going on that needs changing in your house.
Is it like a river? I picture like energy. You hear about acupuncture, for example, and you
Hmm.
put the needles in. I'm wondering if you were going there, Karen, but they put needles in your body so that it helps redirect energy that's flowing through your body. Is that the same general principle with Feng
Hmm.
Shui? It's like a river of energy flowing, and then you put a cactus in the middle and makes it all go to hell because it's, it got to flow around it, and all the needles kind of hold it back. Is that kind of how it works?
I would say that traditional Chinese medicine and feng shui speak very much the same language. I might often tell my clients, go to a TCM practitioner, get their diagnosis, and they'll say something like, kidney yin deficient. And if they get that TCM diagnosis, then I can actually do that same thing to their house, and I would match what the acupuncturist or Chinese herbal TCM practitioner would be doing. It's a direct correlation.
So this is a science, right? This is something that is for sure like tried, true, proven, that kind of thing. It's not just wishful thinking.
Yes, you are a product of your environment, like it or not. I mean, I don't know if you know of Bruce Lipton's work. He's a cellular biologist,
Hmm. I do.
and he watches under, nano microscopes or whatever, the cells and their reproductive and their, nucleus and blah, blah. And he boils, and it kind of is funny in my world because he boils it all down to the two things that affect cellular health is number one, your environment, and number two, your perception of your environment. So, what could be very annoying to Karen could be not annoying at all to you. Your perception of your environment is just as impacting as the actual physical environment. So that's where we can get into the subconscious and all of the things of, oh, that picture reminds me of my ex or whatever. And you're just like, okay, that doesn't work for you, but that person has no connection to that as a perceiving that as a negative picture. They could have it, but it's no longer, you've just voted it off the island of your house. So, so the perceptions are key.
I want to know, is there something that is super common that everyone, well, not everyone, but so many people do that they shouldn't do? Like I've heard a mirror by the entranceway. Is there one thing that you see constantly that you're like, nope, change that?
Boy, there's so many.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
How much time do you have, Karen?
They're on the one. I would say that, well, besides clutter, which you just talked about, like if you can't even get energy in, if you're wading through the morass of stuff and you're languaging, I'm so stuck and I can't get ahead and I can't move forward. Like, you've definitely got something blocking physically. But I would say that the next thing would be having a solid wall behind you where you're sleeping and where you're officing. So your office desk should not have a window behind it, behind you, behind your office chair, or your headboard should not have a window or door, either one, both. So your chair back where you spend the most amount of time, wherever that is. Maybe it's at the dining room table because that's where you bead jewelry for a living or something like that. I don't know. Wherever you spend the most amount of time affects you the most. So let's get those spots. So a feng shui consultant would care about the bed because that's usually like 1/3 of your 24-hour day. And then where you're officing, another third of your 24-hour day. So if I can get your daytime workspace and your bed space empowered, healthy, etc., then, it's kind of job pretty, checked off because the other time when you're driving and randomly at shopping and whatever. So that would be, I'd say the top thing. And most people that they want to stick their desk up against a wall and they're facing a wall and they're like, it's like I'm running into a brick wall with everything I do. I'm like, well, there's the wall. Let's move your desk. Or when there's a window behind you or a door or something behind you. People don't like to be in the cubicle. It's a very subservient, like, oh, who's back there? I can't. Oh, And so we want to make sure that you're just like, come in, sit down, talk to me, have a seat. You've got command over the room. And so if there's a window behind a children's headboard, above the children's headboard, they're the kids that are getting bullied at school. They're in a forced, vulnerable position. And adults, they just get picked on by their boss or whatever. Or with the window behind you, they might say the complaint, well, I didn't see that one coming. or nobody's got my back. They stabbed me in the back. All these things where their back is exposed equals their back being exposed in their physical environment with a window behind their headboard or behind their office desk.
This is fascinating. And truly fascinating. I'm thinking back of all the, like, behind our couch, there's a big window, right? I think we're good on the bed. I think we're good in the office, although my office chair does face the wall, it faces a corner. There is a window next to it, so it's not so bad. But you don't think about things like that being so influential in how your life goes. But it makes sense when, if you have energies that they're clashing or it's just not flowing through, that all makes sense. But did you have a question, Karen?
Yes. So I'm wondering now, sometimes you live in situations where you have no choice, like our living room. We have three walls only. One of them is a fireplace, and then two of them have big windows. So we have to put the couches again with the windows to our back, and we're there a lot. We both work from home. So sometimes I'll be sitting on the computer working from there. Is there something that you can do when you don't have that option of not having a window behind you?
That is an excellent question, Karen Ensley, and Karen Carter will ask you to answer that for us right after this. Well, you asked for it, then you asked for it again, then you demanded it. Well, finally, we have heard you. The Skeptic Metaphysician merchandise store is now open. With really fun show logo designs on things like shirts and mugs to notebooks, phone and laptop cases, and everything in between, you can now take your favorite Metaphysics 101 show with you everywhere you go. Just go to skepticmetaphysician.com/store and you'll find a ton of cool stuff you can select from. Stickers, buttons, even COVID masks, wall art, tote bags, tapestries, you name it, we probably have it. Help us spread the word about the show. Get your Skeptic Metaphysician merch right now. skepticmetaphysician.com/store.
And now back to the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Sometimes you live in situations where you have no choice, like our living room. We have three walls only. One of them is a fireplace, and then two of them have big windows. So we have to put the couches again with the windows to our back, and we're there a lot. We both work from home. So sometimes I'll be sitting on the computer working from there. Is there something that you can do when you don't have that option of not having a window behind you?
And that's what a Feng Shui consultant does. We try to position you in the best of the lot. You know, there is no perfect Feng Shui house. You have to create the best of what you've got. And sometimes, given my client, that is the chemo, blah, you know, whatever, I'm like, we don't have time. No, you're moving, you know, like I will shift everything. Like, depends on how much time I've got to turn it around. Although, for those of you who have paid attention to me earlier, it's a quantum world and we can get things immediately. But I'm just, you know, trying to shift the energy in such a way. And if I don't have, you know, I'm like, okay, there's a window there, there's a door there. Given the choices, I have like my hierarchy of this is better than that, that's better than that. That's the worst. I will avoid that at all costs. It's called the death position. You know, so we don't want that one. And so we're always trying to get people, and that's where those traditional feng shui cures come in. And that was you know, I liked your title using the word skeptic. I was rather skeptic when I got into this. I'm a landscape architect. I had my own design firm, never was intending to change into an author or a best-selling author or worldwide whatever. And I needed to learn feng shui to get a project in Honolulu because China Airlines owned the property. And they said everybody needs to know feng shui to be on the design team. And that was in the late 80s,
Wow.
around 89 or so. Nobody knew feng shui from anything back then.
Yeah.
And so I was desperate enough, you know, the recession of that, whatever. I'm like, yeah, I know feng shui. And I'm like, oh my God, where am I going to learn feng shui? And then I learned these things about a crystal and a mirror. And I'm like, come on, you know, how can that do anything? I had to go all the way back to the law of reflection, the law of refraction. I had to learn the science behind those squirrely little cures, or else it just seemed like, come on, you know, I just literally had to, I was the skeptic myself.
Mhm.
And I went back to the laws of reflection and refraction and all those things to make it make sense so I could suggest those cures with a straight face, basically. So that's kind of how I got into it.
I love that you started right off the top with the scientific aspect of it, the quantum mechanics aspect of it, because you are speaking my language. So that helps me right away level set. Like, okay, we're not talking about some woo-woo stuff. We're talking about something that pragmatically there's an explanation behind it. So then I can put all the skepticism behind and I'll talk about what feng shui really is and how it actually can be put to use. So thank you for that. Now, you mentioned a little bit earlier something that I have no idea what it means. And probably most of the people listening have no idea what it is. But Karen Ensley, do you know what a bagua is?
Well, no, I don't. But I was
Okay.
trying to look like you did.
I mean, we played it off really well, but no.
I'm
course,
glad you.
agua.
I'm actually glad you don't, because most people read my book. It's been around since Y2K day, believe it or not. And remember Y2K? Long time ago.
Yeah, that worked out really well for everyone.
Ages me greatly. But most people that read my book, it's divided up into the areas of life which is the Bagua map. And most people get so hung up on that Bagua map, they forget why they're doing what they're doing. They just put a bunch of stuff in each one of the areas of life. And I'm like, you can do that. But like the TCM practitioner that's using 6 needles instead of 1 in every possible hole of your whole entire meridian system, you just do the things that will create enough shift to get you moving to that next area of life, as opposed to throwing your life into chaos. I have seen people, and I've learned as a feng shui consultant, I used to do that. I'm like, let's do it all. And then they're like, life goes, there's a smoother way to do it. I'm picking your life. The trajectory of your life based on your house is heading in this one particular direction. And you're telling me, I want to change this and this and this and this about my life. I'm picking that train up and I'm putting it on another track going in that direction. And in between there, sometimes a little dust gets kicked up and a little chaos ensues. And some things might break in your house. Like, it's kind of like, I consider them the weak links of the chain that could not hold the energy for that new life of yours. They break, you fix them, and now you're off and running. So it's the law of doing the least to getting the most results, kind of like an acupuncturist. So most people read my book and they're like, power through every part of their house, and it just is a little chaotic. So I'm going to say, don't learn about the Bagua yet. Just listen to your language, listen to how you complain, and go find the antidote. People say, I just can't get a handle on that. I go, is your doorknob loose, or your handle's loose, or your doors? Because they just said handle. You see, like, I'm so drained all the time. I'll be checking your plumbing. We complain in architectural terms. We're telling the very tales of what's going on in our environment.
So maybe that's when people are really happy. They say they're on cloud 9 and they're not confined by architecture.
There you go. I speak on cruise ships a lot. I travel the world. I'm actually a home-free person, complete digital nomad for over 3 years. And because I have experimented with every part of feng shui. I did my house as watery as you can, all the 5 elements: water, wood, fire, earth, metal. I've done my house all fiery, all metally, all watery, just to see what the heck happens to me. I'm like, oh yeah, it's true. Balance is better, like whatever. And I am currently, because of the declutter conversation, I say to my clients, space equals opportunity. So when you've got something taking up space in your house, it can only be that thing. There it is, that thing. It's taken up that volume of space. But if you take it away, a lot of people mentally go, I've got nothing. And I'm like, no, you are filling that space with infinite potential. So the reframe of filling your house, because a lot of people have this no thing, fear of nothingness, no stuff, So looking at what is the maximum infinite potential, and this comes back to, like being homeless or home free, right? I choose to be home free because I am experimenting with infinite potential of being absolutely free of stuff. I'm a little Gandhi out there, right? I don't have much of anything. And I say space equals opportunity. Let's see how far it goes. I'm riding it. I'm experimenting. I want to tell my clients, this is how far I think you need to go, because I've gone all the way to the edge. And my life is crazy good, traveling the world. Maybe other people wouldn't want to do that as their future, but my friends and family, they're like, you just need a house, you just need a base, you need just one. And I'm like, that sounds kind of limiting to me now that I'm on the other side. Very odd. I'm in a unicorn world right now where not many people can relate to my home free. Oh, there's a lot of digital nomads out there kind of doing it. But the average person is just like, no, no, can't do that. But I'm like, you know what? I'm here to tell you the problem is, you know what the problem is? The problem is too much freedom is almost analysis paralysis. Just like yin and yang, when yin turns into yang, it's not the opposite things, two different worlds. It's the opposite ends of one thing. And that Tai Chi symbol of yin and yang, it's one thing. And I have gone to complete freedom to now. I'm like, oh my God, I could go to Paris. I could go to Morocco. I'm stuck because now I'm so free. And it's right back, the yin just comes right back into it. You cannot have one without the other.
Yeah,
And so
that's
I've gone to the nth degree of spatial freedom.
that's like at work when they gave us an unlimited amount of
I
vacation
was
time,
thinking about that.
and then we went, "Yay, unlimited!" Ooh,
Never go.
then we got paralyzed. Like I can't take any vacation time because I don't know how much I'm supposed to take or not supposed to take, and it completely freaked me out. But I gotta take issue with something you said. My favorite movie in the world taught me that the fifth element, madam, is love, not metal. Just so we get it clear.
Multipass.
Yes, yes. Lilu told me it was love, and that's what I'm going with. But
I know.
so
And the Native Americans have the four, so with air. So yeah, yeah.
mm,
It's
uh,
it's it's literally, we're talking about one thing, energy. And the way we just have to use language to describe, I need a little more upward moving, and we just need to break it down. It's the five elements, but it's really one energy, and it's their movement. It's the way it morphs into, it's kind of like the rock, paper, scissor game. So
right.
it's just the languaging issue.
Earlier on in the conversation, you mentioned the word results. And not to kind of change the subject, but kind of to change the subject. Once you come in and people start making these changes, are the results slow or do they suddenly see results? Like, what can someone expect?
I've seen everything. I've seen the gambit from just to show how long I've been doing this. Oh my God, this story is so dated. I don't know why it even popped in my head. I was in downtown Chicago with a guy who was working on a deal for like 9 years, some like Motorola or something like that. I can't remember. And and his fax machine was sitting over there, just to show you the era of this story.
So this was pre Y2K then.
This is no cell phone, beepers, pager, I don't know. And
Big brick
so,
telephone.
and he had all this stuff by the front door, and he had boxes of books that he wrote or something like that. And so I just said, you know what, can I use the hallway for a bit? I'm just going to show you the volume of stuff that you can have in this house. And I'm just going to set the remaining out in the hallway for now. So we started moving the stuff, and I'm like putting it in front of the other guy's door, whatever. I'm getting it away from his space. And while we were doing that, the fax comes through of the signed deal. And he's like, I said, were you
Nuh-uh.
expecting today? Were you expecting? He goes, no, 9 years I've been working on that deal. No, like today was nothing special.
Now it's getting a little harder for me to kind of wrap my head around that. That just seems like magic to me. Like
Yeah.
this is a legit story, yeah?
Yep, yep. And I mean, one of my favorite stories was here in Los Angeles. I'm in California now, and she had frozen shoulders, both frozen shoulders. So she could move her hands to her elbows, but she could not move from her shoulder to her elbow, was just kind of locked by her side. So she had like pulleys to get on. It was like a strange situation. And I went to her house, and she did have a sloping ceiling above her bed. She had window behind her bed, and the energy was going straight in the front door and straight out the back window because it had an ocean view, which is kind of like diarrhea of the house, like energy in, energy out. So I did a few basic things, and I didn't feel like I hit the nail on the head. She was the first person I ever felt guilty about taking their money. I was leaving going, that was a pretty serious thing. And I did the basics. I did the things that you're supposed to do. But once again, come on. And so she told me that the surgeons either wanted to just knock her out and go and like rip it and get it going, because her physical therapy, she's been doing physical therapy for 3 years, and she wasn't getting anywhere. And she says, I just do not want to have these surgeries. I beg you, it's like, this is, I call it last chance Karen, I've tried it all. Let's try feng shui. It's like absolute desperate people come to me because they don't have anywhere else to go. And I'm usually the one that turns it the other way. So I'm like, I don't know if I did it. And then about 3 months later, I was doing a workshop in LA, and she's in the back of the room. Hi. She walks in the back door, and I go, hold on. I go, oh my God, did you have the surgery? What happened? And she's like, no, it just started loosening up as soon as, and then she goes, it just undid itself in 3 months. That to me, I personally couldn't believe that one because I was like stuck for 3 years, and in 3 months, so
Wow. So
I've
hold
seen
up.
people avoid surgeries and things. And that
So
to me is the shocking things.
So this works not only in your environment, but it also helps you with physical ailments also?
Oh, yeah, the bagua, every single situation in life. There's a body part, there's an organ in your body. There's nothing. There's a time of day, time of year. There's your relationship in your family, like eldest son, youngest daughter. There's nothing outside of the realm of the universe that's not built into the feng shui parameters. The only thing I can say of late is what I consider contemporary feng shui that you don't see in too many books and how to deal with it. And it's now called the field of Baubiology, which is a German word, Baubiology, like living home. And that's with all the EMF, radon, off-gassing, VOCs, all the construction materials that we're living with now that aren't addressed in traditional feng shui texts and things that we now have to deal with, like routers and RF and cell towers and things like that. So I train people to do what I do, and I include that contemporary feng shui, because you could be in the best bed position in the world, but if the circuit panel's right behind your house and your router's next to your bed, and you're not going to be, you're sleeping above the garage or whatever, you're not going to have a healthy life. So,
Wow. Yeah. Things you don't
Mhm.
think about.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Is this something that could help Karen with her back, for example? Going back to that, because
well,
the reason why she's going to acupuncture is to
yeah,
try to help fix her back. It just
yeah.
seems
So
like
nobody's
it's
got her
something that
back right now with that window behind her. So,
Oh, that's a screen.
yeah.
funny enough, it will give you a peek behind the curtain. That's actually
Yeah.
a screen with a light
Ooh,
shining up
giddy.
behind it. So it's
Giddy.
not actually a window.
Yeah, so the back of the house, the back of the property, the back of the chair back, the back of the headboard, and the back where you're cooking. That, I would say, that's the only place I haven't talked about, is where you really need to be in that good armchair position. It's called the armchair position, like you got
Yeah, we don't have
tall
kitchen anywhere.
protection from behind, arms on the side protecting you. Guido and Frito, the mafia, they know feng shui. They just don't know they know feng shui.
Because
They
they can't
always
see with their
put
back to the
themselves
door.
That's like you, Will.
That's me. Hey,
safe
I've known
position.
feng shui my whole life. I had no idea.
Is that it? Is that really it?
That is legit feng shui. Like it's that
Yeah.
kind of common sense of don't put yourself in a vulnerable position. The Twin Towers in New York, and believe it or not, the United Nations building, have been in feng shui books pre 9/11, like long time, as vulnerable buildings. And the World Trade Center especially was considered vulnerable to the wind. Feng shui is wind, water. Feng is wind, shui is water. When you smash them together, kind of like honey and moon now becomes honeymoon the night after of your wedding. Feng and shui, wind and water, is the art of this, creating environments that are supportive. And the feng is the wind, which means the unseen forces. That's for the skeptics right there. The invisible forces that can wipe you off the map or not. And the shui is the water, the seen forces. This is the yin and the yang of stuff in your environment. And RF and electromagnetic fields, they fall in the wind category, right? You can't see that RF pounding on your head from your cell phone or whatever. So yeah, just that's how, if it helps the skeptic get their head around the unseen forces, it is built into the program as well.
You have got me hooked. I am so going to look into this thing because it sounds fascinating. I can't completely wrap my head around it, but hey, if it works, I'm all for it.
Right.
We
What
can
have
get
you
rid of
what have you
stuff.
got to lose but,
Yes.
all these
Yeah.
negative these patterns. Yeah.
Well, but then to your point a little bit early on, people, might pick up a book and say, okay, I need to put a water fountain in this corner of the room. I need to make sure that there's a window on this corner of the room. And some people might go overboard or not go far enough or even do the wrong wrong thing at the wrong place. So really the best thing to do is to go with someone like you who is a professional who can actually tell them this is what you need to do, right? Is there any danger to trying to do this on your own?
Yeah, can make it
Um,
worse.
I wrote Move Your Stuff, Change Your Life almost like a laugh while you learn type of a book. It was the most out of the box feng shui book in its day. But I knew that the energy of excitedly reading is just a healthier energy than going, oh my God, the toiling of mathematics and I don't know, I don't get feng shui. I just knew if I could bring that lightheartedness into it. So I'm going to say to you newbies out there that are wanting to experiment with the right intention, you can hardly go wrong. I'm just going to start out, take it down, like just chill out. That's your chill pill. And so, with the right intention, which is the invisible forces, your intention plus the physical change in your environment, that's the wind half, the invisible half. Why am I doing this? I want more money, whatever. And then I'm going to put the purple thing over there, which if you read my book, they all picked the purple thing. So we're going to do the intention plus the thing equals the feng shui cure. So if you get the intention right, it's, you've got at least 50%. My teacher used to say 60%. I usually say 60 to 100%. Because if you understand the laws of like Bruce Lee's 1-inch punch, how can he kill somebody with 1-inch punch? There's more going on than the space of 1 inch for him to kill somebody with his 1-inch punch. So it is the energy that's not seen that is really the most powerful thing. So I tell my clients 60 to 100%, meaning if you can feng shui your mind, you can feng shui your childhood home and go through quantum time, right? We say it's a quantum thing. So you're like, I had a sucky childhood. Let's go back and paint that wall green, and let's go back and do, let's mentally, go through time and space and do that. I just had to throw that in there because it was a skeptic. I knew you'd be like, what? Where? So
You see my face, right? Like,
yeah,
huh?
I had to do that because I'm just showing
Send me
the
to the-
quantumness of this, the quantumness.
What if you move a lot? So by the time I was 12, I had lived in 7 different houses. Like, does like, will that affect you?
Every house is like a different chapter of your life,
So
when
it's
people go
screwed up
back, oh
7
my
different
God, I was so
times.
healthy there, but boy, I couldn't keep a job, or oh my God, my relationship tanked. And that was the 3rd divorce that was in that house. The houses that addresses equal a 7. They're the foreclosed ones, the houses that equal 1s, there's the divorce ones. I help people choose real estate too. I go, give me your top picks and I'll help you pick the one that's best for you based on what I know about you and what you want out of your life. And believe me, it's all the, what's on the market. The happy homes people love, they don't ever want to give that home. They pass it down generationally, right? But the ones that are just like, yeah, we got divorced in that house, pass it on. Gotta be prudent when you're out there real estate shopping,
Yeah.
And that's why traditionally the Chinese prefer a brand new house that nobody else's energy is in, and they create that luck for themselves.
Do people put you on retainer and they just carry around like a guru or a lawyer or something like that?
I do that just because I'm now in my world travel, loving life stage. I built my life. I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun doing what I'm doing, living my life. And so I'm a little that's why I'm training people to do what I do, because I'm trying to be like, time for mama to go play. You guys take over from here. So I'm trying to build up that next generation of lineage, I guess, if you want to call it traditional, what they would say in the feng shui world. But what was your question again?
I don't even remember what it was now, as a matter of fact. Oh, about retainer. Does someone keep you
Retainer.
on
Oh,
retainer?
I do have this. It's called the Move Your Stuff with Karen membership, where twice a month there's calls and live calls, and people send in their floor plans and they send in their pictures and they're like, I'm feng shui in this room. Am I doing it right? So I help people move along. And that's just a real efficient way for me to hit a whole bunch of people in one sitting. And because it's a group setting, people learn from other. I didn't even think about that question, or, oh, I'm going to try that because it was a success for her, because they always report back. And they're like, what? Remember I said I wanted $5,000? This was just a recent call. She goes, the $5,000 just came up. She's like, it was less than 2 weeks. And she was like, I'm just reporting back that thing she said worked. So everybody does, so that's kind of fun because it's a group setting. And then I do virtual consultations where, they send in their floor plan, they send in pictures, or we walk through with the laptop now. There's different ways we can do it. And I ask them what they want to change out of their life, how they perceive their life to be now, how they want it to be in the future. And then I give them the little laundry list of to-dos. And then I ask them to check back with me and we fine tune and tweak. And so that's kind of, how I help people now.
So that's a great point, that you don't actually have to go into someone's house. You can actually do this virtually now. So anyone in any part of the world, the show is listened to in the UK, in Ireland, and Australia. We're all over the world. So anybody across the planet could reach out to you and you can do a virtual consultation with them.
Yep.
That's
the only thing that
fantastic.
I cannot do is test for electromagnetic fields and radio frequencies and those biology things, which I will do for my live clients because I'm there with my meters and things like that. But but we resolve that another way, like I could send the meters and teach, whatever. There's ways of doing things. But yeah, so I do virtual consultations. I travel all over the world doing that. That's literally why I became home free, because I was gone more than I was home. And I wanted to do the experiment on how much opportunity does space give you if you have no things.
Wow.
And so I
Wow.
travel the world doing these things live, and I do them virtually all day long. That's my job.
Wow. Well, this has been 40 minutes that have absolutely changed my life. We'll talk offline because we're going to have you give us at least a consultation, because I'm pretty sure we have some really messed up stuff in this house we need to fix.
It's all the stuff.
If you type in the promo code under my virtual consultation on my website, they'll get $400 off. And just, I've developed that for my people that are just limping in. They've never read my book. Most people read my book. It's in many languages, and they read my book, and that's why I get these consultations all over the world. But for those of you who are new to me, I'm happy to show you what I do, and, what's that new life worth for you? Like, what's the value of that, getting rid of that health condition, or getting your children better help in school, or whatever, you name it. So I'm confident in what I do, so I can take on the challenge.
That's great. So we're going to go ahead and add that to the members only section of our website. So if you are interested in reaching out to our guest to have a virtual consultation, be sure to join our members section so that you can have access to that special discount that she's so graciously offered.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Karen, if someone wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way for someone to do that?
I mean, they can go to my website, KarenRauchcarter.com, or any of the Change It with Karen, which gets to the virtual consultation. You'll work your way in, or Move It with Karen is that membership program that for $37 a month, you can join the calls twice a month. There's plenty of ways, in this book, there's rerouting. What do they call that? Redirecting website. This book is my follow-up to the Move Your Stuff one, called Make a Shift, Change Your Life. And this has some of the healthy home stuff in it. This Move Your Stuff is a basic feng shui only. And this one broadens the conversation from mind, body, spirit, and environment. So this talks about meditation to radon. I mean, it's
Wow.
all my total brain dump of extra things I wanted to add beyond
Great.
Move Your Stuff, Change Your Life. So
Great. So we'll go ahead and add those links directly to our show notes. So if you are interested in reaching out to Karen or to accessing her book or anything like that, you can just go to skepticmetaphysician.com, go to her episode page, and we'll have direct links there. So all you have to do is click the link and it'll bring you directly to her. Karen, this has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise. I know that this is going to help so many people. So I really appreciate you coming on.
perfect. I'm feng shui in the world one house at a time. Hopefully I can help you.
Love it. I love that.
Right. And thank you for coming along on this journey of discovery with us. As always, if you know someone that would benefit from hearing the messages we shared on this show or any of our others, I hope you consider sharing us with that person. It will help grow the show and may just help someone else come to terms with the fact that we're so much more than just this three-dimensional body that we inhabit. Hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have. It's all we have for now. We'll see you on the next episode of The Skeptic Metaphysicians. Until then, take care.